Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I am sharing with you my process for days 19 and 20 of the March Daily Challenge from Bridget Coopson that was on Instagram. Of course, it's now April, and I'm still showing you all this video that I created during the month of March. Prompt 19 was printing on book paper. And I decided to use some dictionary pages that I have. I have just like a little section of them, and I'm just peeling them off. And my idea to do this was to use translucent paint instead of opaque paint so that the the printing on the pages would come through. I mean, that's really the point. Why are you going to print on a book page or dictionary page or whatever with text if you don't want some of that to show through? So I started out using my little cheapy set of neon colors that I got at the Tuesday Morning store, which is a discount store, and some of these hand cut masks that I've made. And it was late in the day. I was in a hurry. I didn't do a whole lot of thinking about this, so I don't have a whole lot of teaching to do because I was just playing with the book paper. I think everyone's already seen this before. This isn't something new. This isn't something different or revolutionary. But I did have some interesting results with my masks. I think I've talked about this before. I really think this is cool, and I don't know how to duplicate it. I mean, obviously, monoprinting, you can't duplicate anything. But these masks that I've cut and some of the handmade stencils that I've made are made out of from the dollar store, those plastic dividers. Like, say you have a binder and you want to divide the pages up. You know, you want this section to be something and this section to be something, and you can put these little 3-ring punch dividers in between. And they're just plastic. They're like a lightweight plastic. And I've made a lot of stencils and masks from that plastic. And of course, you guys will notice I don't clean my stencils. I might like blot the excess off, or in some cases use that stencil shape on another piece as kind of like a stamp, just to get the extra paint off, and it also makes an impression. And this particular plastic, it holds the paint, but then once it's dry, if you put it on another piece of paint as you're printing, some of that crusty paint comes off. And at the first part of there, you could see these weird, like right there, you can see these little flower shapes that you're like, yeah, she didn't put purple on there. She didn't put bright pink on there. Where did they come from? Well, it's just that peeled off paint from those masks. And I think it makes a really cool effect, but there's just no way to duplicate it. You have no idea if it's going to come off or not, or what color it's going to be, because who knows what layer you've put on there. I've used these masks before, obviously, in a different video that you've already seen, and so the paint that was from that video is on these, and that's what's coming off on the paper. So I'm just messing around. Of course, titanium white is opaque, and I thought to myself, my colors, the set of supposedly neon acrylic paint isn't very bright. It's very translucent. It's not very bright. And at some point I thought maybe I could roll some of that titanium white paint over the back of the paper to make the colors on the front look more bright, because this is very thin old dictionary paper that's pretty translucent on its own. Of course, these papers, they're going to make awesome collage fodder. I mean, they will be really cool as, torn up as little pieces. Dependent upon the little pattern in the section, I'll use it, and having that text in the background is going to be extra special for collage. So I'm happy to make these. They, on their own, don't really stand out as much to me. Like I wouldn't use one as a whole background of a page or something. I mean, maybe I would. Who knows? Who knows what I would do? But they're obviously going to be for collage. These aren't something that I'm going to insert into my book. They're lightweight and flimsy, and so basically I'm just getting color and pattern on there, trying to stick with the translucent paints so that the text will show through. And that's basically my entire aim for this little practice of printing on book paper. I'm sure there's other ideas, and you know, I mean, I really couldn't think of anything else. As you can see, the sun is starting to come in my window. I don't have much time left, and I'm just kind of messing around. I tried some unbleached titanium that time because it's almost the color of the book paper, and I thought maybe I would get an interesting effect. Um, but the paint wasn't really picking up very well. And I did put a lot of layers on some of these. I mean, there's one piece, the piece that I showed at the very beginning, that turned out really cool, and it's because of the multitude of layers. It came from this batch here that I'm working on, the multitude of layers and colors I put on. So it wasn't a conscious thought. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to put a bunch of layers on this and see how it comes out. It wasn't like that at all. It was just, I was just messing around, time's ticking. I need to get this prompt over with so I can post it on Instagram, that type of thing. The one with the book paper turned out really cool too. And I did throw in some more opaque paint. That's a cadmium red light, Liquitex. And I mixed it with some of that supposed neon orange from that little set. I need to get some better neon colors, and I'm not sure what brand to go for. I've seen some people with some awesome bright colors of paint, and I just am not sure what exactly it is I need to order. But I did like that one because you can see the text in between the bricks. I thought that was a cool effect to have, like in the mortar sections of the brick is where the real text is showing through. And I absolutely love this stencil, so anything I make with it, I just am in love with. That's the Circles stencil from Stencil Girl Products. I don't have very many of their stencils, but they have the best stencils over there. I wished I had more of them. So this time I'm doing the, black and bright one that I like to do, trying these neon paints with that, but they're so translucent that they don't really do much at all. But boy, did those circles look cool. And I think at the end, during the pictures that I'll show you at the end, I have a maybe a close-up of that one, or pretty close up, and you can see that like the black almost looks dimensional because of the way that it didn't all grab on the paper. It turned out really cool. But anyway, that was book paper. I think we're just about done. Oh, this is where I put silver on the top of one of them to see what that would look like, because that silver is also very translucent. It's one of the PBO metallic paints. So I do have one print that's kind of a metallic, although you can't really see that very much in the video, but it has a lot of subtle pattern in it, which is kind of cool. So here we have the close-ups of the book paper. I'll play some music. Okay, so the next prompt was strange. It was black and blue, and I guess Bridget just likes to put blues with black. I'm not sure. It's not really a technique or anything. It's just a color challenge, I guess. So I started out with putting some black on my plates, and then adding some different colors of blues that I had. These ones I'm using at the beginning are Liquitex Basics, and then I do also use the blues from the Arteza acrylic set that I have. There's some pretty nice blue colors in that set, so I use those as well. But I'm just starting out with the black, the black background, and then the blue coming through the holes. This is an interesting keyhole stencil that I haven't used in a long time. I thought that page kind of turned out, and that one's going in my book, so that was one of the thicker ones. If you haven't watched any of the videos up to this point, I'm using a combination of glossy cardstock, which the only reason I'm using that is because I have a bunch of it, not for any other reason than that. It is a coated paper, and I know that you've been told probably in the past that you shouldn't use coated paper, and I would say maybe that is referring to photo paper. This is just plain old glossy cardstock with coating on one side and it's matte on the other. And so I did a pickup print on the other side, and that cardstock one will be folded in half and sewn into my jelly print journal that I'm making in the future when I'm done with all the printing. And there'll be a video on that. Don't worry, I will be sure to make a video so that you see how I made the journal. So this next one, I just wanted to use this big size bubble wrap because I think it's cool on the gel plate. I think it's just really neat looking. So I just put some different colors of blue on there and then picked up the excess with the bubble wrap and then just put black over the top. And it wasn't as dramatic as I expected. I thought it was going to really, the blue would really pop out of the black, but it didn't as much as I expected. So, yes, I did say pop, people. You heard it. I said it. I own it. Inside joke. If you're new to the channel, that's an inside joke. I'm sorry that you probably don't get it, but anyway. So yeah, that one, not as cool as I expected, but this one I really liked. That was a very subtle black and blue pattern on the, and then by the way, that's just copy or printer paper, that other paper. And then I do also use some deli paper in some of these prints as well. I have this stencil set that I got from Artist Seller, and it's called Halftone Dots, and it has 4 stencils that have graduatingly larger dots. And had it not be early in the morning and had I not been thinking stupidly, I would have used them in the opposite. So often I do things in layers starting from lightest to darkest. And in the case of these stencil sets, which I haven't even played with, I think I've only used one of the stencils out of the pack. Because there's one I really like. The largest dot one is one I use a lot, but then the rest of these I haven't really used. The idea is that you can layer them one on top of the other and get graduatingly larger dots. And so I was doing that and thinking to myself, oh, this is going to be fun. You know, since this is a color challenge and not a technique challenge, I can layer different colors of blue and black and have these interesting dots. Well, I should have started with the smallest one and put black dots. Then went to the next one and put, you know, a little bit darker blue. And then the next one, you know what I'm saying? I should have done it that way. Probably ending with white at the end. And that would have been cool. But I didn't think of that. I was doing it the opposite way. But I was having fun using up the excess paint by just flipping over the stencil onto the other, because this is my 12 by 12 gel press plate, and then that other one is my 6 by 6 jelly arts plate. So I was just flipping it over and getting the excess paint off and getting a pattern on the other side of the plate or on the smaller plate, because these are 6 by 6 stencils. I need to work with these some more to really get the result that I thought I was going to get. So just wasn't really thinking, but they all turned out really cool anyway. They're interesting anyway, just not what I expected. And this one on the 6 by 6 I thought I would print, you know, I've been also, as I'm working along, I've been making a tag to put it on a ring with all these prompts so that I will remember in the future what I did. So I've been just putting it, I have a box of 1,000 tags, and well, I mean, it's probably down to, you know, 900 now, maybe maybe even less. But that was the tag that I made. So that's the reason I use the unbleached titanium, because it's almost the color of the shipping tag, and so it blends into that manila cardstock really well. So then I tried again, just still playing with these halftone dot set from Artist Seller, and I don't know if it's discontinued or not. I will look for it, and I'll put, you know, links in the description box below of the things that I used, like I always do. So look for that if you want this stencil set. Hopefully it's still available. I don't know that it is, if it is or isn't. So then I also have a couple of these pieces of it's like a cardstock stencil, but I think its intention is to be like a die cut, like a large die cut. And these were sent to me by Debbie in Happy Mail, and I thought I would use a couple of them as stencils because I don't really scrapbook or anything. And so, well, mixed media, I might use some of those, but they won't be whole anymore. There'll be pieces and parts of them and not the whole pieces. So I thought they would be interesting stencils. And I did use that kind of lacy looking one on the one side, which I ended up getting a couple really interesting layered prints with crusty bits with that lacy filigree small one. Just kind of playing in a small size basically by just layering things up to try to get a cool black and blue print. That one was pretty cool. A lot of dots. But I think the one that comes, there we go. That's my favorite right there. See how grungy that is? Isn't that cool? Now I would use that one as a background on a 6x6 and then collage on the top of it. I think it's super cool. Super cool. So then what did I do? I can't even remember. All this video footage is like making me crazy. Oh, yeah, this is another one of those cardstock full-sized 8.5 by 11 die cut. And so I used it with black thinking if I ever did want to use it as a die cut, if I put black on it, it wouldn't be messed up because it's black, right? So black on black would be fine. No one would ever even know the paint was there. So I put the black over the top and then pulled it off, put some blue in the holes, and then used white to pull up the whole print. And that one is really cool. You'll see that one in the end in the the parade of prints at the end. You call those close-ups or whatever, but yeah, that one's cool. That one's going in my book. It's on a cardstock piece, so. It's spider webs. I'm not sure what I'll do over the top of it, but it'll be something. And sometime in the future, you'll probably see it again. That's how these things go. If you keep watching and you're subscribed, you will see. Oh, this is one of those. Isn't that interesting? That layered filigree look. I actually have a use for that right now. I might use it very, very soon. It looks kind of like brocade, if that gives you a hint. Haha, if that gives you a hint. You might see it very soon on the channel. So then I said to myself, I need to use black paper. Duh, black and blue. Printing blue on black would make black and blue. Why didn't you think of that at the beginning? And so I decided to make a couple prints on some black cardstock, and this will also be folded over and sewed into my signatures of my gel print journal thing I'm going to make. And so I started out with this big mask and went over it with black, pulled it off, and then added some of the PBO colors. These are shimmery paints, so it's a very shimmery page, and I used blue green and blue black PBO iridescent. So you kind of get like a reverse image of the print on there, which is just pretty cool. I think it almost looks like kind of like either a ceiling tile or a mandala. Is that the right word? The circle pattern things that you draw. And then, of course, I had to work on my tags. I like to do little bits of extra paint on my tags. And there was a little pattern left over down at the bottom that I thought I wanted on a tag. See, look at that. Isn't that cool? I'll build up on that one some more. But I've been enjoying making these little crusty bit tags that turn out pretty awesome, picking up some of the extra pattern on the plate that you didn't expect. And then this one, I think it's called cells, maybe, but I think it looks like pebbles. And so I thought that one might be fun for the other side of the black paper. So same technique, put the black paint down and then put some color through the holes before I pick up the stencil. This time I'm using my 6x6 plate to be kind of like a palette to pick up some different colors with my smaller brayer to put through the holes. What I was noticing is I don't really enjoy the darker colors of blue with the black because it's not enough contrast, and I'm a contrast girl. I like contrast. So I'm using mostly the lighter tones like that light blue. I can't remember what color it is, but I'll put it in the description box below. And then I've, mixing with white and stuff like that because you get a lot more contrast in these shimmery colors. I did have some really beautiful colors like Prussian blue and Payne's gray and colors like that, but they don't show up with the black particularly. They're just too close to the black. So that's the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing. So if you enjoyed this video, there's a whole playlist of gel printing and it has a lot of videos and you can just play that if you want. Or of course there'll be more coming up in the month of April. And then also remember to give me a thumbs up or leave a comment, question down below, or both. Subscribe if you haven't already. And of course share this on your Pinterest, pin it to your gel printing board. That's it for me. Bye-bye.